your own novel, you are writing your own novel. There are so many writers, good writers, Chetan Bhagat and so many, you may be familiar with the names. You yourself can be a good writer. So if you are writing and creating something very unique, so automatically what is happening? Language is creating the reality. आपकी भाषा एक कहानी तैयार कर रही होगी. So automatically we create the reality in our mind, then only we present it, or then only we present in the either in the artistic expressions in the form of a script or written version, or through Vaikhari. You are some people are very fond of narrating the stories to their friend. शाम को बैठ जाएंगे चाय के साथ कहानी सुनाने लगेंगे. Very fond of creating and narrating the stories by themselves. Self-made narrators. So they are also there, they also are creating the reality, and one is the ultimate reality. From ultimate reality we are in a state to receive the manifested entities, so many things. Western linguistics studies only Vaikhari Vak, while Indian linguistics deal with the Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama and Vaikhari, all of them. I have already explained in detail that in Indian understanding we have 4 levels of Vak, starting from the subtlest one reaching to the grossest one, Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama and Vaikhari. While in Western traditions or in modern understanding we are much focused on the Vaikhari itself. So this is the greatest difference. Now you need to have an understanding about Advait in one line. Advait is conversing point, unified state. Advait means if there is a appearance of duality, but there is only one. Just like if you intake alcohol, what you feel? There is something which is dual. मुझे दो दिखाई रहा है क्या? एक ही चीज दो दिख रही है. Is there the presence of two? No. But it feels or it gives you a feel of appearance of duality. So if there is something which appears dual but it is one, that is Advaya. You in the examination I will ask the question, what is the difference between Advaita and Advaya? Advait, there is only one ultimate existence, no appearance dominates. But in Advait, there is the dominancy of appearance. It may appear dual, but it is one. That is the difference between Nigam Shastra and Agam Shastra. Nigam Shastra, that means Veda or Nigam. From Nigam itself we have Darshan, Vedant Darshan. In that Darshan, the term Advait is used to identify ultimate reality. So they nominate Brahma as Advait Tattva. But in Kashmir Shaiva Darshan, which is coming from the Agama Shastra, we have Advaya word, and they are saying that reality is Ardhanarishwara. So they appear dual, there is duality, there is an appearance that there are two elements, two tattvas as an ultimate one, but still they are one. You cannot separate your right side from your left side. If you try to take a revenge from your right side by your left side, you cannot do. ऐसा हो सकता है कि एक आधा हिस्सा आपका दूसरे आधे हिस्से से अलग होकर के चला जाए? No, this is only one, but there is an appearance of duality. So Ardhanarishwara concept, which is available in Agama Shastra, from where Kashmir Shaiva Darshan is coming, has an understanding of ultimate reality as Advaya Tattva, while in Nigama Shastra, from which Vedanta Darshan is coming, they consider ultimate reality as an Advaita Tattva or Brahma as Advaita Tattva. This is the difference. So for this lecture, this is sufficient. From the next lecture, we will discuss few more points to summarize the content of the course. Thank you. Those students who are having class from 5:15, just raise your hands. बस आप दोनों जाइए, बाकी सभी बैठिए. वन ठीक ठीक.
हटाएंगे नहीं, आपको आप बोलने में तो क्लास होगा.
हाँ ठीक ठीक. रोल नंबर मेंशन कर देना. रोल नंबर ठीक है. ओके स्टार्ट करें. Dear students, welcome to the course Introduction to Metaphysics of Sanskrit Language, and this is lecture 20. In the previous lecture, I explained a few of the topics which summarize the content of our course. Today we are going to discuss evolution till modern Indian languages from Sanskrit. So here you can see in the diagram, the first in the first circle we are having Sanskrit, and the first extension of that is Pali. Second extension is Prakrit. Third extension of the same language is Apabhransh, which are none but the modern Indian languages. So how this journey is completed? What we are having right now in the form of our regional languages, they are modern Indian languages, and they all are Apabhransh of the root language Sanskrit, because they all carry the words or vocabulary of the Sanskrit, not the sentence structure, not the verb structure, vocabulary. Shabdakosh wahi hai. That's why it's a much easy thing to translate any text of Sanskrit to the modern Indian languages or Apabhransh or Indian regional languages, then to translate the corpus of Sanskrit language to the other foreign languages, because the restriction of the vocabulary is always there, the limitation of vocabulary is always there. Now the first point you need to know that Sanskrit term was used to address the Vedic language when? In 5th century. I told you in one of the lectures, like we had our tradition as oral tradition. So Vedas were recited orally, and they, in that sense, the language, Vedic language, or you can say the Sanskrit language, was not nominated as Sanskrit. कोई ये नहीं बोलता था कि ये संस्कृत भाषा है. And I explained that there is the actual evidences till now what we have, that the Vedic corpus was scripted in Kashmir Mandal later on. बहुत बाद में उसको लिखा गया. So till the 5th century we don't have any evidence that till the 5th century or before 5th century there was no nomination of this word Sanskrit with reference of a भाषा. किसी भाषा का नाम नहीं था. संस्कृत का मतलब होता था, if you split the word Sanskrit, it will be some upsarga, some prefix, then kri, then ta. Ta is suffix, some is prefix, kri is the root. So some denotes a samyaka rupena, perfectly done. Kri means done. The verb is, some means perfectly, kri means done, and takar means past tense. So that which has been perfectly created is known as Samskrit. आप किसी भी चीज के लिए ये शब्द इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. ओदनम संस्कृतम, चावल पक गया है, चावल बहुत अच्छी तरह पक गया है. That is also Samskrita. So perfectly created, something that is perfectly created is Sanskrit. And till 5th century, this word was not in usage for addressing a particular bhasha. After that, in the 5th century, this was used for the Vedic corpus. That is something which is carrying mantras, richas, suktas. So for the Vedic corpus, they started nominating the word Sanskrit because they understood that it is very refined one. भाषा का ये वो स्तर है जो बहुत ही refined state है, perfectly created की है. That's why they started using Sanskrit word for the Vedic corpus. After that, Panini and Patanjali have not used the term Sanskrit in their compositions to address the subject matter of conception of bhasha, though their composed texts are in the language Sanskrit itself. I have already showed you in the beginning lectures also that they are not using the word Sanskrit, they are saying that Vaidika naam Laukika naam cha. That means I am referring to the words of Vedic corpus and the words which are available in usage, that is Laukik. Next is the Pali. This is the first extension, Pali language. The term Pali comes from the term Palli. Sarvapalli Radha Krishnan, नाम सुना होगा आपने. Palli is the word which means market. Palli जाना, market जाना होता था. When Buddha be able to identify the beginning and the end point. So it's a concept of idiocy for us, for our scholars to date something back. They never wasted their time and energy in dating the things as per the Kal. They understood that Kal is a mental construct, it does not have the original existence or the real existence. But here we have the history of ideas, that means history of knowledge. So we have Charvakas, Jain, Bauddha, and then there are Sankhya, Yoga, Vedanta, Mimamsa, so many of the darshanas, so many of the scholars, they all are presenting the knowledge in their own variations or understandings, and that is available to us. So Prakrit is that language which is available as the bhasha of Jain text. Next and the last one, the third extension is Apabhransh. In modern Indian languages which are possessing the literature from 11th to 14th century onwards, they possess the vocabulary of the Sanskrit words in either Tatsam mode as it is or Tadbhav mode modified from the original one, and they are known as Apabhransh of Sanskrit, just like Ek, Dvi, Tri, Chatuh, Panch, Shashti. In Odia also we are having the same words for denoting the numbers. Same words. कहाँ से आ रहे हैं? संस्कृत से आ रहे हैं. Shabda, it itself used in the Malayalam as it is to denoting what? Noise. Shabdam, Makuru, that is Shabda नहीं कर रहा है, वो भी एक ही बात है. So we are inheriting the vocabulary of the language Sanskrit in our regional languages today, and that's why they are considered to be the part of Apabhransh. So in this way we have the three extensions, first extension, second extension, third extension, from Sanskrit to Pali, from Pali to Prakrit, and from Prakrit to Apabhransh. This is the way how our languages have passed through the journey of ideas or knowledge. Then as I started the course from the Rig Veda itself, that means Vak Tattva, Vak Sukta. So I am taking you back from here to that topmost point to summarize everything. If you start investigating the complete corpus, because I touched two corpus, one is the Nigama Shastra, second is the Agama Shastra. I gave you the references and evidences from both of them. Started from the Nigama Shastra, then I took you to the Agama Shastra, then I gave you the complete holistic picture of the mantra and kundalini to give you the idea of so many layers of the bhasha or Vaka Tattva. language and Upanishads, in Upanishads itself, Paravak represents the determination of the will power. Pashyanti represents what to say. Still the differentiation has not come into existence. It is yet to begin. Madhyama is collective air or in the form of a thought. At the base to say, and Vaikhari is the expressed or uttered version. This has been explained to all of you. All the senses including speech depends on the vital air or prana shakti, or we can say that pran is the substratum of all. So basically our vital air is responsible for creating the sounds. That's why even this table can create a sound. So you don't, and we need to have this understanding that bhasha is not the copyright material of only human beings. So at the level of dhwani, each and every entity possesses bhasha. As per Mandukya Upanishad, at vacant state we are bahish pragya, just like right now forcibly also you are trying to be awake. So we are bahish pragya, you are trying to concentrate your energy or to make your energy to listen to the external stimuli, to receive the external stimuli in the form of shabda, whatever I am uttering. This is bahish pragya. जब हम जाग रहे होते हैं हम बाहर की ओर होते हैं. This is bahish pragya. Senses are directed outside, outwardly. In dream, when you are in dream, speech dissolves in breath. You are only breathing. उस समय कुछ बोल नहीं रहे हैं, अभी आप सो गए हैं. So your speech dissolves in breath. That becomes antah pragya, and that's why I told you that dream state is dominant of function of manas. जब मनस बहुत तेजी से काम करने लग जाता है वही हमारा स्वप्न का अवस्था है. So in dream state we are antah pragya. Senses are introverted, or we can say we possess involuted cognitive apparatus in the dream. So all the cognitive apparatus, all the senses which are not actually involved in receiving and responding to the stimuli, now they are becoming dissolved into the subtler ones. So that becomes antah pragya. तो अंदर अभी भी आप जानते हैं कि आप कौन हैं, तभी आप सपना देख पाते हैं कि उससे मिलने पहुंच गया, उसको पिटाई कर दी, जो each and every kind of bhav or frustration, depression, happiness, unfulfilled desires, whatever you are having, that are present in the dream. Antah pragya. We have a lot of examples, narrations and references where words are able to create the reality because of the power of tapasya in Vedic literature, Ramayana, Mahabharata and Purana, etc. In Western tradition, consciousness is a faculty of mind, but in Indian knowledge tradition, consciousness is a faculty of self. So this point and this point is interrelated. In our literature, starting from the Vedic literature, I told you that Vak Sukta, in Vak Sukta, what Vadi is saying, when Vadi is expressing herself, after realizing her own existence, what she is saying, that I am the one who brings everything in manifestation by expressing everything that is desired by either by Manushya or by Sumedhi or by Rishi or by Muni, everyone, she is exclaiming like after realizing कि मैं ही तो हूँ जो सब कुछ कर रही हूँ. So that means in Vedic literature itself, there are so many narrations and references where words are able to create the reality, and it's after that in Ramayana and Mahabharata also I told you the narration story from the Ramayana about the curse, because the curse got executed as it is because of the power in the words. In the same way I explained the story of Yaman Nachiketa, where Nachiketa was father of Nachiketa, the Rishi, just said like I would give you to the death, and the child got fainted. So the words are powerful enough to create the reality. They create the reality because they are powerful enough to make an impact on the marm sthanas, and that's why we have to actually we have to identify a detailed understanding about the marma and vital points in our body itself, जहाँ पर चोट नहीं लगनी चाहिए, which should not be hurt. In that sense, after Ramayana, Mahabharata also is having a lot of narrations where words are able to create that reality. Just like when Krishna is being cursed by Gandhari. Gandhari cursed because Gandhari is a lady in Mahabharata who is such a tapasic or ascetic woman that she was knowing everything from the beginning, that her son Duryodhan is not following the path of righteousness, he is not right, and still Duryodhan tried so many times to get her blessings, just to get just to hear this sentence that Vijayi Bhav, कि एक बार माँ कह दे कि विजयी भव, क्योंकि वो जानता है कि वो तापसिक स्त्री है, यदि वो बोल देगी तो उसके शब्द सच हो जाएंगे. बट गांधारी ऑलवेज रिमेन्ड स्टक टू द वर्ड्स यतो धर्मस् ततो जयः. कभी नहीं बोला उसने कि तुम विजयी होगे. लास्ट तक वो स्टक रही क्योंकि उसको पता था कि वो उसका रास्ता सही नहीं है. एंड एट द एंड व्हेन द वॉर एंडेड, whole of the clan got destroyed. So now the level of pain she is having, she was not able to bear it, and then she just you can say she just poured all the sorrows, the deepest possible grief and pain on the Krishna, and she said you were able to stop this war, तुम चाहते तो ये युद्ध नहीं होता, but you didn't do that. So the way my clan has got destroyed, yours will also go to the same destruction. And then Krishna smiles that I was supposed to kill them automatically, you gave me the reason, thank you. मैं तो आया ही इसीलिए था इस संसार में कि मुझे उन सब का निवृत्ति करनी थी, तो आपने ये कर्ज दे के मुझे कारण दे दिया, और वो धन्यवाद कर देते हैं. सो यू कैन सी दैट द pain, the level of bhavas is so condensed at that point that our words become powerful enough to create the reality. And the same happens with the Krishna itself. In the same way, there are a lot of narrations which are available in the Purana, and we can see a lot of the literature, and this happens regularly in our life also. We never want to take the curse of others, इसीलिए किसी को पेन नहीं देना है, कोशिश यही होती है. In some or the other ways, if we find like somebody got hurt by us unintentionally, we try to make or say sorry to the person to rectify our mistake. हम हमेशा गिल्ट को सामने ले आते हैं. So in psychology, the guilt factor is a dominating factor which should be studied and which is being studied right now. But in psychological understanding, guilt and the curse are the two sides of the same coin. Once you are having guilt, then only you are going to rectify it. And curse is an automatic thing which comes out of you just because of the condensation of the powers at that particular locus when the bhavas are so deeply hurt. That's the level. In Western tradition, consciousness is a faculty of mind, that's why they are stuck with the physical understandings. Mind को भी अभी वो physically ही understand करना चाहते हैं, जबकि वो physical है ही नहीं. But in our understanding, consciousness is a faculty of self, it's our own existence. So in the beginning itself I told you that consciousness is a term which is non-dual, which is representing non-dual state, but still in the lack of a proper word in English, we have to use consciousness again and again and again. Though in Indian literature, Indian corpus, either we use Brahma or we use Param Shiva, they all are denoting the non-dual state of existence. So in our understanding, it's a faculty of our own existence. That means bhav. Bhu sattayam arthe means bhav. Sattayam means existence. Bhu dhatu or bhu root is used to denote the existence itself. That is something which is being understood in Indian tradition. Language and the Vedas I have already explained. Actually, you started the course from here itself. So going back to that same thing. When in the Rig Veda Vaka Sukta, Vadi is exclaiming or introducing herself, and then in that Sukta that is named as Vaka Sukta or Devi Sukta, which is available in 10th Mandal of Rig Veda Samhita and Sukta number 125, I started the course from here itself. The seer of the mantra is Vak, the daughter of Rishi Amrana, resulting in a complete name Vagamrani. Vak means Vag, Vadi, Vak se Vag ho gaya, Sandhi ki wajah se, modification in the sounds as per the rule of Sandhi, Ka becomes Ga. So Vag, Amrana is the Rishi, so from Amrana, the daughter of Amrana becomes Amrani. So Vagamrani Sukta. This is the way how we create the words for descendants of the Rishis, like from Kashyap, Kashyapaha, from Atri, Atreyaha. In the same way, there are so many rishis from whom we link our descending, or you can say our generations, in the name of the recitation of Gotra, not through the blood lineage, but through the knowledge tradition. जिस क्लैन से हम खुद को जोड़ के रखते हैं वही हमारा गोत्र होता है. उस ऋषि को हम जानते हैं ज्ञान के कारण, हम ज्ञान संतति हैं, उस ऋषि से हमें ज्ञान प्राप्त हुआ है. दैट्स वाई हम उससे खुद को जोड़ना चाहते हैं या उसकी वो लीनिएज याद रखना चाहते हैं. हियर नेम वागाम्रणी इज द कंप्लीट नेम फॉर द डॉटर ऑफ ऋषि अम्रना, दैट इज वाक. The devata is also Vagramrani, meaning that the seer completely identifies with the scene in this sukta. That's why I said after realizing her own existence only, Vadi is narrating who she is. Now the Rishika in Rig Veda, in the Vedic corpus, there are not only rishis. This is also very important, because when we are in the mid of a discussions about the feminism, we need to have the evidences for our corpus itself. In starting from the Vedas itself, we have Rishi and Rishika. ऋषिकाओं की संख्या ऋषियों से कहीं ज़्यादा है. The Rishika also contemplate. So here Vadi is a kind of Rishika. Another name or a lot of the corpus which is available for the identification of Rishikas from the Vedic period itself, I will show you. The Rishika contemplates on the self, which can also be interpreted as Paravak, Akara, Anuttar, as per the Kashmir Shaiva Darshan. If you relate it like it becomes equivalent to the Paravak, because the Vak Sukta is of the Nigama Shastra and Paravak is from the Agama Shastra. If you relate it, it will be equivalent. So Vak Rishika is equals to the Paravak of Agama Shastra. Same thing and two different corpuses. And on its creative powers, who joyfully proclaims the verse in the praise of self, Atma Stuti. So when you start doing puja, गणेश जी की पूजा कर रहे हैं, लक्ष्मी जी की पूजा कर रहे हैं, किसकी करते हो? अपनी ही करते हो, कोई और है ही नहीं वहाँ. The same consciousness is present in the idol. When we do the sthapana, like Ganesh Chaturthi, Durga Navaratri, when we bring that deity to our home, our place, then what priest actually do? ब्राह्मण क्या करता है? कौन से मंत्र पढ़ता है? कभी जानने की कोशिश की है? क्या करता क्या है वो? That person tries to make, or you can say to incorporate consciousness in that particular structure which you have brought. जो आप मूर्ति लाए हैं वो तो बिल्कुल वैसी ही जैसी आपका शरीर है, आप भी एक मूर्ति ही है ना. उसमें अगर कोई कॉन्शियसनेस नहीं होगी तो आप में एक मूर्ति तो है, आपको उठा के कहीं भी लेके चला जाएगा कोई. So we bring a kind of idol which is, we consider right now not having a consciousness. What Pandit or Brahman is going to do Prana Pratishtha by mantras. So in the first session, when you actually do Sthapana, you do Prana Pratishtha in that idol. After that, you start worshipping it. So automatically what you did? You made that idol as your own extension. जैसे मैं एक living हूँ, conscious entity हूँ, ये भी एक living और conscious entity है. And also, you consider that you are limited being, that is non-limited entity. So if I worship that, that is going to fulfill everything, that is going to give everything. So in turn, you are surrendering your limitations to that non-limited entity that is nothing but your own existence, and you are doing Atma Stuti. अपनी ही प्रशंसा में मंत्र कर रहे हैं और सूक्त पढ़ रहे हैं. Atma Stuti. So we do all the time Atma Stuti. So you need to remember two words, Atma Shlagha and Atma Prashansha. Atma Shlagha is proud on yourself, being so much of proud, possessing so much of proud, or being a kind of pride which shows a kind of arrogance, जिसको हम कहते हैं ना घमंड, वो है आत्मश्लाघा, जब हम अपनी प्रशंसा जबरदस्ती करते ही रहते हैं. एंड आत्म प्रशंसा क्या है? आत्मश्लाघा एंड आत्म प्रशंसा आर टू डिफरेंट वर्ड्स. वंस वी आर डूइंग आत्मश्लाघा, वी आर ऑलवेज considering ourselves as the most suitable person for everything, most intelligent and in all the aspects. अपनी ही चीज़ को बहुत dominancy देते हैं. So a pride of on your own self, that is a kind of a false pride itself. So Atmashlaga. And then second is Atma Prashansha. You need to appreciate yourself. Self-appraisal. That's why in the job also, in exam, class tests, all these things should include a kind of self-appreciation or self-appraisal when you actually evaluate yourself. तो अपनी प्रशंसा करना बुरा नहीं है. आत्मश्लाघा is a bad thing. आत्म प्रशंसा is not a bad thing, but आत्मश्लाघा is a bad thing. You can find a lot of people in your surroundings, in your life, कि वो अपने बारे में बहुत बातें करता है, उसको अपनी ही बातें करना अच्छा लगता है. So वो आत्मश्लाघा है, उसको अच्छा नहीं मानता कोई भी. But आत्म प्रशंसा is like whatever you do, I respect it, but whatever I do, that is also not a waste thing. I appreciate myself also. That is Atma Prashansha. So in another way, when we perform any ritual in our homes, in our culture, that is Atma Stuti only. Thus, the discourse of language in Indian intellectual tradition starts from the Rig Veda itself, and there are a lot of Rishikas in the Vedic literature who are Tapasik Stri Shakti, they practice meditation and contemplation, and then having magnified powers to directly perceive the reality as it is. So Rishi and Rishika both are available in starting from the Vedic corpus itself. After that, in Mahabharata, in Ramayana also you can get the references, but maximally they are richly present in the Vedic literature. Just like a story is for Usha or Sandhya. Sandhya is a brahmacharani and she is a rishika, जिसको हम आज समझते हैं शाम को संध्या. In our homes, a lot of people practice around 5 to 6, in between 5 to 6, when the sun is going, or you can say the luminosity is disappearing. They consider that is the joining phase between the night and the day. So that becomes a Sandhya. In the same way, Brahma Muhurta, for the Brahma Muhurta, that is a Sandhya period, joining between the night and the day. So Sandhya. So basically there are two Sandhyas. So Sandhya is a Tapasik Stri who is Brahmacharani, who performs the Yajna in the ashrama with the rishis. You can find the narration in the Rig Veda itself, and from there itself a lot of narrations are also available. If you get the time, then you can find it out. Summarizingly in our course, what we have understood, like sound is eternal. Number one, sound is eternal, नित्य है, पहली चीज, कभी डिस्ट्रक्ट नहीं होगी, कभी बिगिन नहीं हुई तो कभी डिस्ट्रक्ट नहीं होगी. So it's eternal, नित्य. It is in waves. The only thing which happens is that we can't hear it always due to our limited capacity. Indians do not record particular event. We generalize whatever is relevant for human life. We record it in generality, we draw the events. किसी event की recording, just like the workshop is going on, so many cameras, event is being recorded. This was not the practice for Indian corpus. Event is not recorded, the essence is recorded. That means every time when the mandali sits, when the mandali means mandali of the scholars or acharyas sit together, or just like I told you in Kashmir Mandal, we were having so many scholars who actually started scripting the Vedas. तो उन्होंने क्या किया, they considered the essence. उन्होंने इस बात पे फोकस नहीं किया कि अब जो हम इसको लिखने वाले हैं इसकी तारीख लिखें, पहले ये ढूंढ के लाएं, फिर इसको किसने देखा था उसकी सिग्नेचर लेकर आए, नहीं, ये सब करने बैठते तो कभी होता ही नहीं. So basically we record the events in its essence, we draw the essence, we remember the essence, and that's why our culture is dominating with the stories. When some kind of event passes through a longer journey of the period, it becomes a kind of a story which can be passed from one generation to another generation. That is a kind of procedure in our understanding. The term Param means the first and Para means the next. So Param Shiv is ultimate reality and Para is his power. In the same way, I told you the feature of Ardhanarishwar is there. They both are not separate, but still they appear to be two entities or dual one in nature. Indian knowledge tradition is the transfer of ideas or knowledge from one generation to another through the long tradition as cumulative or unbroken tradition or chain. Cumulative means unbroken. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो चीज़ कहीं टूटी थी. So there was no dark age in India. कोई रेनेसा नहीं हुआ हमारे यहाँ, कोई डार्क एज कभी थी ही नहीं. With reference of what? With reference of knowledge. So we were not in a lack of knowledge at any of the time that can be dated back in history or written back in history in comparison to the history of the West. जहाँ रेनेसा हुआ उसके बाद बहुत कुछ हुआ, तो पृथ्वी कैसी है कैसी नहीं हमको बहुत पहले से पता था. So basically all these things were in our corpus and they were cumulative. Unbroken chain, they were presented as in an unbroken chain and continuous succession of the text and thinkers where conceptual thinking was done. Technical or technological words of the Rig Veda are still present in Indian languages as Tatsam or Tadbhav, and they constitute 90 to 95% of Indian languages. When you come from this side, first thing is Yantriki, Abhiyantriki, something is written. रेफ्रिजरेशन कुछ ऐसा है ना, उसका ट्रांसलेशन लिखा गया है. सो कितना सही है, यू आइडेंटिफाई इट, लिंक इट विद द 64 एलाइड साइंसेस, देन यू आइडेंटिफाई इट, कितना सही है वो ट्रांसलेशन. सो वी क्रिएट द वर्ड्स, टेक्निकल वर्ड्स, बट द वर्ड्स आर कमिंग फ्रॉम द सेम लैंग्वेज. यंत्र इज नॉट द न्यू वर्ड coming from the vocabulary of Sanskrit. Abhi is a prefix coming from the Sanskrit. कहाँ से लेकर आएंगे आप शब्द क्रिएट करने के लिए कोई और भाषा? भारत की भाषाओं में कुछ तैयार करना है तो वो वहीं से वापस आएगा. Ideas keep on accumulation partly from the primary texts and partly from the commentary texts. Indians created a large body of literature. They are preserved not because they are sacred, but because they are important source of knowledge. That's why it's not important कि किताब कॉपी जली की बच गई. It's not important. इंसान बच गया कि जला, ये important है. Because the mind is having the knowledge, the conscious entity is having the knowledge. The possessing of the knowledge, the possessor or the beholder of the knowledge is the disciple or the conscious entity itself. So we were focused on the creation of scholars who can keep that knowledge intact and pass it from one generation to another generation. Knowledge of different disciplines is classified into 3 categories: received one, recalled one and creative one. So Agam and Nigam Shastras, they are received ones. Recalled ones are like Smriti Shastras because they were recalled again and again as per the needs of the time and space. And creative ones were the creative imaginative literature which was created by different scholars like Kalidas and so on. बहुत सारे लोग हैं. Shruti is received one, Smriti is recalled one and Kavya is the creative one. Creative is also of 2 types. One is imaginative and other is directly perceived. So in creative ones also we can classify the two things. On what type of method it is based. One is you completely imagine something. One is you write those things which you have experienced in your own life. ठीक है, मैं खुद किसी जर्नी पे गया. You just traveled by train from one place to another place. You experienced everything. You wrote it. That is directly perceived ना, खुद experience किया है. तो वो क्या हो गया? Creative तो है लेकिन directly perceived है. And if you completely imagine something, आपने अपने दिमाग में कोई कहानी बनाई और उसे लिख दिया. You never experienced it in reality, but you imagined in your mind and then you wrote it. Then you got published in the form of a novel or a story or a book. That becomes imaginative. 10 million Sanskrit manuscripts are still held in the world. We need to do a lot to possess the knowledge from our own resources. This is the need of our hour, need of the current scenario, present time. And summarizingly, from this summary itself, we can summarize one line, and that line is the language is the grammar of reality. अगर कोई एक भाषा एक line में पूछ देता है, after understanding this course, we have what is language? Language is a speech, it's orality. Then what is language? It's not just a means of communication, it is communion with oneself. Now the last one, language is the grammar of reality. If you can metaphorically, if you want to say beautifully and metaphorically, that is bhasha satta ka vyakaran hai. Just like grammar regulates language, it tries to bind the usage. Nobody goes to a grammarian to create the word and to give you, then I will use it. No, ऐसा कभी नहीं होता. We use it, then the grammarian lists it and then that becomes a kind of boundary which regulates that word. कि कल हम उसको कुछ और बोलते थे, आज उसे कुछ और बोलते हैं. तुम्हारी भाषा में क्या बोला जाता है? हम पूछते हैं ना, because we are multilingual and we are in a when we interact a lot of the times we don't know the words which are used for the same entirety in another language. We ask it कि हम तो उसको ऐसे बोलते थे, तुम लोग क्या बोलते हो? Why? Because the grammar regulates the usage of the word, it binds it. In the same way, the language regulates the reality itself. It constructs the reality and also modifies it as required. Example of Nachiketa Yam Samvad, Gandhari as a Tapasik Stri. So what happened? That language which they used in the case of Yam and Nachiketa Samvad, the language which was used by the father created that reality in which, or you can say through which, Nachiketa got that kind of highest knowledge from the Dharmaraja himself, right? And in case of Gandhari, when Gandhari cursed Krishna, automatically there was a complete reality of the decline of the complete clan of Krishna also. So internal language is able to create the reality just because language regulates the reality. So in metaphorical sense, thus language serves as the grammar of reality. It regulates. भाषा एक प्रकार से सत्ता का नियंत्रण करने लग जाती है. एक बार आपने अच्छे शब्द बोल दिए तो आपका मित्र बन जाएगा, एक बार आपने गुस्से में बोल दिया तो आपका शत्रु बन जाएगा. इसलिए कहा जाता है कि भाषा पर बहुत कमांड होना चाहिए. द वे यू स्पीक defines your character, your personality, and that decides 99% the success of your task. 99% आपके इंटरव्यू में और कुछ नहीं होता, सिर्फ आपकी भाषा, आपका वे ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन इम्पॉर्टेंट होता है. एंड इफ यू सक्सेसफुली कम्युनिकेट दैट थिंग थ्रू योर, दैट्स वाई वी हैव अ वर्ड लाइक बॉडी लैंग्वेज. क्या होती है बॉडी लैंग्वेज? भाषा, शरीर बोलता है क्या? बट द वे यू कम्युनिकेट, the way you express your things, that creates an impact, and that is sufficient to create the reality whether you are going to be successful in that interview or not. So it's very important. So what are the suggestions available here for the studying of the language after going through this course? That there are three main suggestions. Number one, translation, which is a kind of a blunder, specifically if it is done from Sanskrit to the foreign languages, without having a deep knowledge of each and everything which is available in Indian corpus. Nobody should try to attempt to make a superficial translation. That creates misconceptions and that creates a lot of bigger conflicts. So translation should not be done without in-depth understanding of cultural journey of भाषा. जब तक किसी भाषा की उसकी सांस्कृतिक यात्रा को नहीं जानते हो तब तक ट्रांसलेशन मत करो. पहले उसको जानो, उसके बाद उसका ट्रांसलेशन करो. और ये एंड दिस फैक्ट इज एप्लीकेबल फॉर ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ ट्रांसलेशन, नॉट ओनली फॉर द लैंग्वेज संस्कृत इटसेल्फ. किसी और भाषा से अगर कुछ और ले रहे हैं तब भी इस चीज़ पर बहुत ध्यान देना पड़ता है. Second is diving in the knowledge treasure of any language should be encouraged with the proper learning of the language of that knowledge text itself. Don't be dependent on the secondary sources. Secondary sources can never give you the original content. If you want to know what is being written in the Vedas, you must make yourself capable of understanding the Vedic language first. तो संस्कृत को संस्कृत भाषा में पढ़ोगे तब पढ़ पाओगे, तब समझ पाओगे. अगर संस्कृत को अंग्रेजी भाषा में पढ़ने के बाद समझना चाहोगे तो नहीं समझ पाओगे. इसी प्रकार से ऑल द इंडियन रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस, इफ वी ट्राई टू लर्न देम, वी नीड टू स्पीक एंड फर्स्ट टू लिसन, देन टू ट्राई टू इमिटेट और स्पीक. Then automatically you would be able to learn that language. But if you try to, ऐसा कभी करते हैं क्या? कभी exactly कभी सोचा है? We never do these things. Like if we want to learn Malayalam without listening to the sounds, how to utter of different words of the Malayalam language, or without understanding the accents which are available in that language, we can learn that language. No, we have to learn Malayalam by Malayalam itself. We cannot use English for learning Malayalam. The same thing is for Sanskrit itself. संस्कृत को अगर सीखना है तो संस्कृत भाषा में सीखना पड़ेगा, इसलिए पहले भाषा सीखो तब उसका कॉर्पस पढ़ो. Superficial translations do not serve the purpose. Rich vocabulary and usage is the last and the best evidence of existence of a language. So the question of living or dead, this is very high, this is a very popular question of discussion, whether Sanskrit is a living or a dead language. So the what is living and dead? किसी चीज़ को कब मानते हैं कि वो living है? तब ना जब वो continuously use हो रही हो. That is a part of our vocabulary of all the regional languages in current time also. So automatically the usage is available to us. How can we say that that language is not living language? ये thought ही irrelevant है. So basically the last one is representing the restrictions or misconceptions which we are right now having, just because we think that it is not there or somebody has made us to think like that it is not there. But it's not the truth, it's not the reality, because still we are practicing the same vocabulary, and in lok, in usage, the same vocabulary is practiced again and again by everyone right now also. So in turn, bhasha is the grammar of reality. That is the last and the essence of the course. So with this thing we are ending our course and unit 5 also. After this, in the next lecture, I will discuss the questions, the possible questions which are coming from our all the lectures, and from which we you can say we have to be prepared for the exam also, or you can say we have to identify the rest of the things, like the things which are being left out. After studying this course also, there are few concepts which are still having a curiosity or creating a curiosity among the students. I will discuss them also with the list of the questions in the next class. So, for this lecture this is sufficient. Thank you. Keshav Sharma, Shiva Mohanty, Swapnil Agarwal, Twisha, Aman, Pramod, Soham, Dibya Jyoti, Jaya Prakash, Narayan, Pavan,